Everyday me, everyday God. Big red bowl, middle blue bowl, little yellow bowl. I was in the kitchen baking yesterday, and I was reflecting on some conversations I'd had with friends over the last couple of weeks, and how several of them were really discouraged because things they thought they had dealt with and worked through seemed to be coming back again. And things that they thought were really healed and the wounds kind of mended were back again. And so we had been talking about those things. And so as I was baking, I was reflecting on what God taught me and how He got through to me many years ago. In fact, several decades ago. I grew up, and in my young adulthood, I really was convinced that I was worthless, that I was unlovable, that I was rejectable because I would never do it right. I couldn't do it right. I didn't know how to do it right. I'd be always messing up. And I was convinced that was me. And I was convinced that if anybody really got to know me, they would discover that I was a fraud, that underneath was this horrible, unlovable person. Ever had that experience? Something like it? Something deep within us that just kind of frightens us, isolates us, makes us feel so alone at times. Well, I wrestled with God about that for quite a while. And at one point, God really spoke into that. And I can't tell you how that happened, but I somehow knew that God was saying, actually, Elaine, I love you. I like the way I made you. Those things you're talking about are simply a human journey. It's the way we grow through things. I really like who you are, and I like journeying with you. And it was as if this big, heavy weight just fell off. A big, kind of ugly coat just fell off, and it was lovely, and it felt so wonderful. And it was, as that fell off, it felt like God was filling me with something that was so yummy and good and wonderful and bubbly, and it just started overflowing, and it was good. But then, several months later, I woke up one morning, and all those old lies, all those old feelings, those old fears, the threat of kind of loneliness again, seemed to be present. I was so frightened. Then I got angry. I thought, God, your job is to heal me. My job is to come to you, but your job is to heal me. I can't do that. You have to do that. And I got into this this kind of wrestling match again with God, saying, God, why didn't you do it right the same first time? A little bit of projection from what I felt about myself. Will I ever do it right? Well, will my God ever do it right for me and in me? So back to wrestling with God. I wrestled through that. And somehow God said again, Elaine, you're not worthless. You are precious. You are lovable. I made you lovable. You're not a bag of shit. You are precious. And that peace kind of began to come over me again. Now, these weren't instant things, but as I wrestled through things, then that peace came back again. And it was like, oh, I could breathe again. It felt like I was released into a bigger space. It was wonderful. And then a couple months later, exactly the same thing happened. And I thought, I was beginning to get bewildered. I thought, God, why doesn't it last? Why doesn't it kind of go further? And God gave me this picture of these 3 bowls, the big red one, the middle blue one, and the little yellow one. We had a set in our kitchen. I was using them every day. And God said, you know, Elaine, the first time you and I wrestled with these issues, these voices, these lies, these fears, I filled your little yellow bowl full until it was overflowing. But while you were enjoying that, I began to stretch you into a middle blue capacity. And I poured all the yellow capacity and truth and faith and hope into the middle blue bowl, and it's not full. But I've increased your capacity to believe even deeper that you are lovable, that you are of worth, that you're valuable. And now we're going to fill it again. So the second time we filled it up to the middle blue bowl size. And while you were enjoying that, I began to stretch your capacity into the big red bowl capacity size. Poured in the blue bowl, full to overflowing, but more space, more capacity to love yourself, more capacity to love others, more capacity to believe in that I created you as precious, as valuable. And it was such an interesting lesson for me to learn and to begin to look at that the next time it happened, the next time those voices came back, it wasn't that they were in control. It was that somehow there was more that was going to be lifted up, uprooted from within me and tossed out. And so now when I wake up in the morning and I'm thinking, oh no, God, where are you? This is not good. Then I begin to refocus and say, okay, God, what is it this time you're wanting to give me insight and understanding into? About myself, about those lies, about the things that I somehow believed about myself and no longer have to. What's that extra capacity that you get? What are you uprooting that makes me even more capable of believing that I'm lovable? And so when I've been thinking about my friends who have been struggling with these things, I pray that increased capacity, that increased insight and understanding into their lives. And I pray that for you, that increasingly you would understand that you are lovable, that you are loved, that you are of worth, that you're precious, and that God's ways are gentle ways. But He's not going to stop until He's increased our capacity to the fullness of what He sees is possible. Let me read you a bit of a prayer that was written to the church, the people in Ephesus. It's from chapter 3. And listen to this. It says, God can do anything, you know, far more than you could ever imagine or guess or request in your wildest dreams. He does it not by pushing us around, but by working within us. His Spirit deeply and gently within us. Perhaps in these challenging days, we will discover increased capacity, increased insight, increased understanding. We just need to keep breathing. Just need to keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward into increased capacity, increased belief that we are lovable, loved, precious.